Hey guys, I spent a couple hours today trying to help everybody out, but I saw a lot of the same stuff and I heard a lot of the same issues, so I decided to take the time and make a video for you guys, show you how I think you should be getting this stuff into Revit while using Revit as little as possible, and just trying to use what you've made in Rhino as much as possible because that's easier and everybody's kind of a little bit more familiar with it. So we're going to get started. I'm going to make a new architectural template in Revit. And the first thing that you do in every Revit project is you get your levels figured out. And we're going to do that out of our Rhino project. So go to an elevation, select these levels that are by default and delete them, and then just press OK. And then I'm going to get Rhino inside started. While this is going up, the big thing that I saw a lot of people doing was doing the Rhino import 3DM thing, or exporting their stuff as like a .obj or a .dwg or something like that, and getting it into Revit that way. And that's really not the best way to go about this. It's going to cause you a lot of frustration, and I think a lot of you have already kind of come up on that and seen the difficulty it gives you. Revit does not like those file types. It's not going to play nicely. You're not going to be able to change categories or like set line weights within Revit the way that you want. It's going to crash a lot. There's better ways, and the way that you can do that is using the Grasshopper with the Revit components that this gives you. So I made just a little twisting tower thing this afternoon, and the very first thing that I think everybody should be doing is stop working on this using the Rhino file and Grasshopper file that you use to make the Cabinet of the Curiosities. There's a ton of stuff in there, unbaked geometry, things are on all sorts of different layers, all of that. What you want to do is you want to make a new file with just your geometry that you're going to get into Revit on it, and you want to make it as simple and clean as possible and split into layers in a way that like makes sense to you. So for this one, what I did is I have my center tower here on a layer, and that's just one surface. And then I have this facade pipe stuff that I made, and while these are still 50 different poly surfaces, I grouped them so I can treat them as one object, bring them into Revit as one object, and just kind of go from there. And the same thing with this kind of weird facade thing that you would never ever be able to make in Revit. This is 1,300 poly surfaces, but I've grouped them, I've put them on their own layer. So as far as I'm concerned, they're one object. They are the lacy facade, they are the pipe facade. They're not all sorts of random geometry. So we can get started now. The first thing, like I said, that you want to get done in Revit is you want to get your levels set. So I'm going to make a surface component, and I'm going to make a copy of that. And on one of them, I'm going to set that to this. And then for this other one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a plane. And we're going to just make that right. Want to do the center. I'm going to make that just go all around here like this. Because what we're going to do is we're going to use this plane to create our levels and then eventually our floors in Revit. So we're going to set one surface to that, and then I'm going to do a linear array of that, and I want them to go up in the Z direction. I want them to cut through this tower here. So we're going to make a unit Z vector, and then we are going to make that 10, because this tower is 100 feet and I want a level every 10 feet. So we're starting from 0, so that's how it's going to count this as 1 So I actually, instead of 10, you want to do one more. You want to do 11 in this case. You can see now you got the ground and then 10 levels, which is really, 11 levels here. So now I have these planes that are cutting in my tower, and I'm going to do a brep brep plane intersection here. And these are my breps, and this is my plane, and it's not plane along. I think I might need a different one. Okay, yeah, I just have these reversed. Yeah, these are my planes. Okay, so now I have these curves, and these curves are where the brep and all those planes intersect. And we're gonna, just like we were doing in the earlier stuff, I'm gonna use the area to find the center of those curves. So now I have a bunch of center points, and we're gonna go ahead and put in this nice thing called add level, and this is how you add levels. And see, so it needs elevation, names, and type, and this is already filled out for you. It's an annotation level, so we just need to figure out elevations and names. So I have these center points, and then what I need to do is, sometimes I always like to sort lists of points because I can never tell when Grasshopper is going to just put them in a random order. So now these are sorted by Z height on here from top to bottom. And then I'm going to deconstruct these points because I only care about the elevation. I only care about the Z height here. And then I can take this, pop it into here, and then I'm going to do a concatenate here, /level to make a little text box, and then I like to add the space. Nope, go here, and then we're going to do series. And we're not engineers, so we're going to start at 1 instead of 0. And we need a count of 11 to get the ground floor and then 10 levels above it. So now the output is level 1 through level 10. Pop this in here. And the name is already in use. 11 components. 11 components. Might need to do some flattening. Okay, yeah. Sometimes a good rule of thumb, if things aren't working and they should, sometimes I just like throw in a flatten or a graft. So this now, there's Z, and it's being treated as one list. You can see now instead of bracketed arrays, it's giving actual data. But if you look in Revit, it's starting at the top because it's sorted from the top to the bottom. So I'm just going to go here and I'm going to reverse this. So now we have levels, started at level 1, going all the way up to level 11. Nice and simple. But now we don't have like floor plans or anything, so we're going to use add floor plan. And we're just going to take this level output and stick it in, and we're going to take this concatenate and stick it in name, and then now we have a floor plan associated with each of our elevations. There's not a ton of stuff we can interact with right now yet. Gonna turn these previews off, but there will be very soon. I'm gonna stay parked in the 3D view. So now we have levels, we have floor plans without a lot of headaches. But now we need floors, because I know a lot of us, we just made shapes like this, you know, either it's filled on the inside or it's, you know, just an infinitely thin surface, kind of like this one is. And you don't like actually have floors in it. So this is going to create some floor geometry for you, and it's just add floor, just like the other stuff. And to take a floor, you have to have a boundary list, a type, and a level. And thankfully, because we went through this process and we went ahead and made all of our levels, you can see here it already has the internalized levels from Revit. And you can see this needs curve parameters. Well, we already made curve parameters. So all I have to do is plug that in, but you can see it only makes the one here because of that flatten. So now if I just make a graft component, pull that into here, and then pull that into here, now I have all of my floors done. That's all it takes. They're properly associated with their level, and the way, if you do it this way, it's nice because you can make like custom floors, or you know, can go in here. I'm gonna say, you know, as a default, it's just like a generic 12-inch like concrete floor. But you know, say I wanted it to be ceramic tile. You know, I just have to change that once, and then now all of these floors are all 10 inches thick, with ceramic tile on the top. And this is nice for you guys that are making like these really complex vertical things where, you know, you might have, it might be 100 feet tall or 1,000 feet tall or whatever, and you don't want to make a trillion levels by hand and try and make this twisting shape of floors in Revit, which is not fun and not easy to do. If you just let your geometry drive the creation from it, we have floors, levels, and floor plans in Revit, and we haven't done anything in Revit like at all. Now we've just done a couple of really quick grasshopper stuff. So now I'm going to add this kind of surface tower thing. So I'm going to just drag this down here, and this is called direct shape geometry. Add geometry direct shape. Boom, right here. And then there's a geometry shape element category somewhere. I'll find it. Direct shape categories. So I'm going to make this a wall. Shocking, right? Wall. Walls. And that's its category. And then for a name, I'm just going to say exterior wall. Here, got a name. And then there's Revit materials, which are nice to have. So let's make this glass with some clear glazing on it. So now all I have to do is feed this geometry in. Go ahead and make this shaded, and look at that. Look at that. Now I have a nice, cool glass surface here that's, you know, completely in Revit. I can select it. I can, you know, make it room bounding or not room bounding. All sorts of fun stuff. But say you don't want it to be glass, right? You don't want it to be infinitely thin geometry for it. You actually you're modeled it as as just a surface, but you want to give it some thickness. You're gonna punch it out, that kind of thing. So we're gonna make it into a mesh. First, we're gonna make a mesh surface here, and then let's make these UV subdivisions like 20. Make it nice and high resolution here. And then there's a weaver bird called mesh thicken. And then we're going to make this, let's make it just a foot thick wall. Boom. So now we have this thick kind of geometry here. I'm going to turn that preview off. I'm going to make this 50 so it's nice and smooth. Nice and smooth and thick. So now this output, let's just pop it in here. And now look, you have this thick actual piece of geometry in Revit. And then if you want to make that, you know, not glass, let's make it some cast in place concrete here. Turn that preview off. See, now there's actual thickness to this. If I go to a level 1, you can see actual thickness to the wall here. It exists. It can be measured in Revit. It can be worked on. So I'm going to leave it as this surface instead of the thick geometry because I want this to be glass. So we're going to go to glass clear glazing. Nice. So, and we're going to repeat this process. That's weird. We're going to repeat this process with the other layers that we have. So I'm going to call this exterior facade right here. And I'm going to make another geometry container. I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to turn the pipe facade on and select it, and then go in here, set one geometry. Oh, clear values. Set multiple geometries. There we go. And this, generally, I would say that this is like a curtain system, probably. And I want it to be stainless steel. Plug that in, and it's going to take a little bit. But all of a sudden, unless this crashes again, it crashed on me earlier. Okay, we're good. So now I have a facade on here, and just like everything else, it exists. It's real. If I take a section cut through here, when we're doing our details and we need to do our line weights, I can see everything really nicely. And then because we have Revit creating it, it has a category. It is a curtain system. So when it comes time to actually create your views, you can let Revit do more of the work when it comes to doing visibility, graphics, wall sections, that kind of thing. Because if I go curtain systems right here, and I say, I want this extra thick on these lines, I want these to really stand out. It's just one quick thing, and then now these lines are even thicker than they were originally. And Revit doesn't know what this geometry is. It doesn't care. It's not trying to create anything insane that's gonna just make you really frustrated with Revit. All it cares is there's this weird geometry, but it is a curtain system, and I'm being told to draw curtain systems in a specific way. I'm gonna make it really easy here. Aluminum. See, and now like half of my work of creating a section cut is done for me on geometry that Revit does not care about, just by being able to say, oh, this is how I want to do cuts and line weights for things that are within the category curtain system. So we're going to repeat this again for a third time. Oh no. I really should have disconnected this before doing this. Okay. So I'm going to turn that off, and now I've got this crazy thing that you can never make in Revit, but I'm going to set it to the geometry, wait a couple of seconds again. I'm afraid to click anything. It's working. Okay, I ended up just pausing the recording. This took like this says 23.8 seconds, but everything didn't come back and let me start clicking for at least a minute. So on some of these conversions, it is slow. Just try and be patient with it. If you start clicking around, it ends up kind of throwing it off quite a bit. And now I have this facade in here. So from this point now, I can start creating walls and all sorts of things. But the vast majority of my work is done for me. I don't have to worry about levels or floors or anything. And you can use a mix of these things. For mine, I made a lot of stuff just natively in Revit because my stuff was very rectilinear, but I didn't want to remake that like weird boxes and boxes and boxes covering thing that I did. So I just made stuff in Revit, kept it at the default location, and then just did this exact same process here and just brought in just my covering on it, and it looked exactly like it did in Rhino. And it's all like really nice. So I'm always open to help people. I'm gonna stick around on Wednesday after class before studios as well, try and get people help. But hopefully this kind of helps clarify some of the problems people are having. This is really, compared to some of the other stuff we've done in Grasshopper, it's a little, it's all new and it's crazy and weird, but it's not actually that different than what we've been doing. It's just knowing a couple of new components on here. And with these, I think you guys can make a lot of progress where you've been having some issues.